right, guys, welcome back to Kamisha Reviews. Hit that like button and subscribe. Have you joined the membership yet? What are you guys waiting for? All right, guys. Also, super thanks, super chats. Hit that Cash App. Oh, yes, I said it again. Why not advertise myself? I am a business. I am that brand. Support content creators. We need the love, baby. With that being said, get your drink poured or whatever you got to do because you know we're going to throw shade and a whole lot of laughs is going to happen. Talk to you later. Bye. All right, guys, welcome back to Kamisha Reviews, another exclusive, another interview. Reality TV Queen is in the building, always bringing you the good news and the exclusive from all cast members from all TV shows, period. All right, guys, we got in the background another king I have in my castle. That would be Blake, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. So you guys get your drinks, whatever you're going to do, and get ready to chill. Let's go ahead and get this started. Bring it to the table. We got Blake is in the building. What's going on?
Hey.
What's
How's
going
it going?
on?
How's it going?
Yes.
Good.
It's real good for me. I mean, everybody knows I've been talking about this doggone PC for like forever. And I can see in the background, I plan on being on camera, have my stuff set up, but got my program downloading, and so I'm doing another day. So it's all good. I'm on my iPad, and so Apple gonna help me get through this because the internet will not let me be great today. All right, so we got the king. I call all men who come on my platform king. I call all men in my life, or just anybody I know, especially black men, I call them king. So that's just something I do. So you are a very attractive man, and you went on a dating show. And I ask everyone this because you guys are black excellence. You guys are attractive. You have your money right. You're doing your thing. And then where's locations Miami, where it's popping and all these things, colors and spice. Why did you go on a dating show? It doesn't look like you need to be on a dating show. Real talk.
So I didn't know anything about the show. I got a call from production. Somebody passed my information along. Production called me. They told me about the show. I actually thought it was a crank call, when they first called. So I hung up, kept it moving, and they called back and they said, no, this is a real thing. And at first I wasn't with it. I said, it's not really my thing. I'm not really a social media person. But I asked them, just let me sit with it, see how I felt about it. So I talked to some people in my circle, and, I was like, well, it's something I've never done, a box to check. So I'll give it a try and see what it's about. And, that led me to the show.
Let's get to it, though. Why do you think that you were the bad guy of the season? Let's be clear. Reality shows, even though not scripted, people do play a part. I've done it for so long, I know that. But you kind of were the bad guy this season. Why do you think?
I don't know. I think production has their ideas for their storylines. And, I think I just fit that storyline. There was nothing that really happened, right? So people have to understand, we don't know what the story is going to be until we're completely done filming. So we're watching the story unfold just like you guys are.
Interesting. People were coming out that, knew you and was saying things like your ex, stuff like that. Did that make it harder for you to come out? And the reason why I say that is, I think about myself, even though I'm a blogger, I think about if I ever got onto a reality show where people from my past, come out and say things. I mean, I've thought about that. So for you, I don't know how that feels for you to try to come on TV and then people are talking about you. It's like, how did you deal with that?
Yeah, it was a little off-putting, but like I said previously, I never responded because I don't know these people, right? So these are people that are popping up and, they're seeing these things, but I have no idea who they are. We're not talking people that are leaving their names or saying, anything of any real relevance that wasn't already put out on the show. So because of that, I don't pay any of it any attention. I feel like it's people that are trying to get attention, and just as a grown man, and as you can see on the show, certain things I just don't entertain.
Yes. And even on the show you spoke out. I did have an interview with Jonique, and I know I also had one with Z. And I had a few of the interviews I had, I got different comments when it came to your name. Like I said, you were kind of a big topic of the season, to be honest. I know Jonique said there was a couple of conversations that, there was a little bit uncomfortable. I even know y'all had y'all date. She was telling you all about her, but when we started talking about yourself, it was like short and sweet. What was you only just first with that question, let me ask you this. What was going on with that? Was there something that just was off-putting about her? And you just
No. No, I think there's a couple things, right? I think, again, I know everybody blames editing, but a lot of it is editing. It's what part of the conversations they choose to show. The other part, I do think that, shout out to Jonique. Jonique's a little younger than I am, and we're in two different phases of our lives, of our lives. So I think that there's some things that are just missed in conversations, period, and conversations to be had, right? The ability to relate from my side or from her side, I think just isn't there. So it just made it a very awkward date for the both of us.
Oh wow. Okay. That makes sense. I get that. Um, the whole thing with even I want to say Jeffrey, when you kind of got it, a little back and forth with her,
Mhm.
I think you called her a liar. Do you feel like that was a turning point with the fans and even with them showing you as a bad guy? Because when that whole little argument happened, I remember I was like, it looks messy. Why would you go to her and ask her these questions about a conversation that happened in the lounge with Tommy and da da da? So I wanted you to talk for yourself to explain what was the motivation of that conversation.
So that was pretty much out of the blue for me. Um, Originally, Jeffrey and I were cool. We had a situation that happened on the second date when we were at the brunch. And at that brunch, I asked her to give me a little bit of space. And the next thing I knew, the next day, I had this whole lie made up about her being my number one and, all these, things. I don't know exactly what was said. Um, some things were just told to me.
Mhm.
And to be completely transparent, I've only watched like episode 1 and 2. I haven't watched the entire show. So once I saw the show and I saw the direction and it wasn't in line with who I was, I kind of just decided to talk off of what I experienced as opposed to watching the show. But to get back to your question, um, I don't know what the issue was with Jeffrey. And again, I'm just not a confrontational person unless we have a conversation. If we can have a conversation, then I'm all in. Jeffrey did not want to have the conversation, right? So people were asking about the boat. Um, I'm a fairly decent communicator. So when I approach you and we're going to have a conversation about something, I'm trying to have a conversation from your standpoint so that I can understand from your standpoint. When I asked Jeffrey on the boat about the incident, keeping in mind I'm getting secondhand information, I
Mm.
wanted her to tell me what it is that you said. I heard something was said, so just tell me what was said. But I felt like she kept cutting me off and trying to control the narrative because she didn't want that to come out. I know that some people felt it was suspect one way or the other. But for me, the way that I look at it, right, I feel like if someone approached me over something that I said, I would just flat out say, yeah, this is what I said. This is why I said it. And that's what I was looking for. So I really didn't get the impression that she really wanted to have that convo.
Oh wow. So you didn't. So you calling her a liar is what you felt. You felt she was a liar.
No, I didn't feel it. I knew it.
Oh wow.
Like that's just, that's what it is. Now, what her motivation was or her reasons, those are hers. It's not something that I care to address. Once it happened, I just kind of, well, before it happened, I had written her off as a potential. So I decided I would just keep going with my journey.
Mm. So you and Sue Ann, I think when you guys started to develop you guys' relationship and the way it was going, her going home, it seemed that it was unexpected to you, but it was expected to a lot of us watching. Do you see that?
Yeah, I didn't take it as unexpected. Um, what I realized on the show and the way the formatting of the show goes is once someone is no longer available to other people,
Mm.
that's who you essentially wind up voting off, right? It's not because of anything negative. Once you reach a certain
I
point,
agree. Hmm.
it's not because of anything negative, and because she and I already had connections. The gentleman already said that she was not a connection for them because she had made her choice. So it wasn't very surprising to me that she was the one to be eliminated.
What in the world happened with you and Morgan? Morgan went smooth off on you. And for us watching, whether it be a blogger, you're a fan, normally you have like a beginning and an end or a middle to kind of put things together in that puzzle. That puzzle was lost for a lot of us because we
Right.
just saw how she was like, okay, we're going to tell you, da da da. And she went in. And we was like, what? So it was different people who felt like she was wrong. Some was like confused. Some was like she should have gone off on you. What
Right.
happened?
So I think that's a hard one. I think I honestly think that that was just energy that she was carrying over from Jeffrey. You know, Jeffrey and she became really good friends on the show. I think they're best friends now is the way that they promote it. And I think that that was some of that. I do know that we had a conversation in the beginning. I don't think it was captured on camera, but you know, I had asked her some questions about what she was looking for, you know, in terms of having kids. And I think that she felt a little maybe uneasy over it. And that's why I was asking originally in the conversation about, you know, what she was bothered by when I apologized to her. You know, and I said, well, you know, I'm apologizing. And she said, well, how can you apologize if you don't know what you're apologizing for? So I explained that I was apologizing because obviously she felt away and there was nothing that I was presenting that I was intending for her to feel away. So I wanted to have a conversation about what it was that she received from me that was negative. And I don't know, she just went left, right? We were kind of smiling, laughing, and joking before it, and then she went off. So, you know, I just took it as a moment for her, and I really didn't put any too much thought into it because again, she wasn't one of my connections.
So the comment about kids, let's go ahead and get into that. You made a few comments. I can't remember verbatim what you said about the 80%.
Mhm.
Do you made all right, all right, Mod, I hear you. What was the comment that you made about the 80%? I can't remember, but I remember I didn't like it. I will say that.
So it was 87%. So I believe I was speaking with Corvea, and she asked me if I was through having kids, you know, and I made a joke and said, you know, 87% sure that I'm not having any more kids. Um, and for whatever reason, I don't know why that became a thing. Um, I could have simply just said no, you know, I'm not having kids, but I didn't think anything of it. Um, and for some reason, it became a thing. I think it was just more of a disappointment for a couple of the people because, you know, the rest of their life for them looks like them with children. And it's not something that, you know, I was willing to do or a place in my life where I'm willing to have more kids.
Then why would you go on a dating show? A woman, especially because the age is, I mean, not, I'm in my 40s, but I know that some of y'all are in, it's like 30, late, early 30s, late 30s, whatever. So this is the age where women are looking to, I'm thinking about having children at some point in time. And it seemed like that was a narrative that you was adamant. I don't want kids, or having kids is going to cause something in your, and I mean, it's true. You have children. A lot of freedom is gone. I'm not gonna say you're lying about it. I had 3 kids. They're college now, and things are different for me. So I'm not saying that you're incorrect. But what I'm saying is, do you not feel you are wasting people's time to go on a dating show where majority of almost everybody on there is probably gonna say, even if you didn't know, I want to have a child one day.
Of course not, because then you're making the assumption that every woman that's dating wants to have kids, right? So in my age category, and what I find is the older you get, the more comfortable you get with either not having kids or already having had kids. And as far as going on the dating show, I don't get to pick the women that the network selects,
Okay.
right? The
Sure.
network tries to marry up the women with the men based off of each other's criteria. So I had no clue going on who would want children or who wouldn't want children or how it would affect the masses. But I mean, the reality is everybody on this show didn't want kids. It was only 2 people that were adamant about having children
Do
of
you
the 10.
think? Do you think it would maybe even okay, even in your, let's say, your real life, does that narrow the chances of finding somebody, or do you feel like it doesn't affect it either way? This is just a question about dating in general.
I don't think it narrows the chances because I feel like I get to date who it is that I select and I choose to date,
Mm,
right? So
of
part
course.
of the criteria of whether or not we're going to work or whether or not we're compatible or whether or not I'm interested pretty much has to do with if you want children, right? If you want
Mhm.
children, then you're just not for me. You know, I don't want to shortchange you and waste your time. I feel like you should find someone and take your journey to get that person that's going to give you that. But that's not going to be me. So no, I don't feel that way at all. I feel like, you
Right.
know, the combo, the position that you're in is that all women want children right now. And that's
Mhm.
just not realistic for me or for my world.
Well, no, I agree. I don't think everybody wants children, but to be honest, a lot of women do. At some point in time in their life, and sometimes women fool themselves and they'll say, "Oh, no, no, it's okay. I don't want kids right now," and then y'all fall in love. And this has happened too many times for me. That's I know it's a true statement. They fall in love, and
Of
then
course,
the
of
man
course.
says, I told you in the beginning how I felt," and
Right,
then it becomes a thing. I'm not lying
right.
about that. And women
Of
do it,
course.
but that has happened. So that's why I was saying, even though they're probably saying that, those women probably want kids too. It would be easier to tell a man, "Oh, it's okay because you're feeling him or whatever." So I mean, you have every right to feel that way. Is there a reason why you do not, or you're just choosing
I've
this?
checked that box. I mean, I've checked that box. I've already done it, right? I think that you have stages of your life and you want different things at different stages of your life. Some things, once you've overcome, it's almost like a book and you have chapters, right? Once you close a chapter, you don't go back to that chapter, you create a new chapter.
Mm.
So I'm in a new chapter, so I'm not trying to shortchange someone who may be starting their chapter where their chapter wants children. But it's almost like and what you're saying that you're taking away the power of the band to say what it is that he wants, right? Because I'm not here to provide someone else's fairy tale. I'm here to meet somebody halfway so that we can have a journey together and have a life where we're both being happy in what it is that we want and what we want aligns. So I think a lot of emphasis was put on this baby thing, which really had more to do with personal choice than it did, my choice or how it fit within the show.
I thought there was something that you said about if you had kids. Um, I don't want to say which verbatim. Something about becoming successful or doing something in life in the future or holding you back. I can't remember. I don't want to say what you
No,
said.
no. What I said was I'm at a point where I save for retirement, not college funds.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay. I mean, I'm at the age. Oh, okay, the age I'm now. I'm almost 48. I'm sorry, 47, and um, yeah. I mean, I get that. My kids are halfway almost done with college, and
Right.
I would not want to get with somebody that has a small child. I can't lie. So you can have your own preference, and I actually can get that. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it was blown up so big on Ready
Right.
to Love. You were made of just that was the storyline of the season. I feel like it was about Blake. Blake was the bad guy. Blake was the one that, because I know that it was something that happened with you and V as well. Y'all had a little small things. I was like, how many women did Blake have? I
No,
mean,
I don't think it was. I don't think it was that at all. Definitely, a lot of it was editing, right? So if you watch, a lot of it was really them having conversations and then them choosing just to show like facial expressions that they pulled and kind of put together. You didn't really get to catch any of my full conversations, that I had over some of these things. So even the 87% was kind of taken out of context, and then it was cut to like Corvea asking Lyndon a question and some other things. I was really surprised myself at how big of a deal, that was on the platform and on the forum. But again, I respect what it is that other people want. I just feel like that respect isn't always reciprocated.
I agree with that. But I'm just, as far as for me, Zonique was actually on here and she said that you had rubbed her the wrong way. I mean, she didn't get like long story, a bit deeper say it was like a dramatic thing, but she did say that on my platform. That's one reason why I was like, well, what? I mean, the Jeffrey thing, I kind of was like, okay. But then it was like Jeffrey, then you have Zonique, and then there's Morgan. So I'm saying there's more than one woman that is saying something. So I'm like, what is going on? Like, I know we're not seeing
Well,
it. I knew that eventually. I
gotcha.
knew that initially.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Okay.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I feel like it's a moment in time. I mean, by the end of the show, Morgan was great. Morgan and I had developed a relationship. So there's a lot that's not seen on camera. There's a lot to the stories that aren't completed. So they kind of leave you hanging, right? So I'd be really curious to see what Morgan had to say now about the relationship that she and I have. But I think a lot of that is just energy of the show, right? I think the women kind of rile each other up, right? And when you don't know the man and you haven't had that experience, um, you're going off of what someone else says that their experience was. So I think some of that was a little bit of piggybacking. But I think once we got an opportunity to go out, have our one-on-one time, at least with the other people, because I had other connections, right? Other than Suan, it's just Suan is the only connection and date that they show. So I think a lot of that again is just in the storyline. It's just in the storyline.
Well, as of recently, coming out in the social media, the streets, or whatever you want to say, the whole thing with Simone, shout out to Simone and Jeffrey was like everyone was like boom, and then a lot of things like on Lipstick Alley was like, okay, so were we wrong? I saw this myself. Were we wrong about Blake? Because
Right.
when Jeffrey was put to the fire about the things that was going back and forth with Simone, people was kind of changing their minds about you.
Right.
How did you feel sitting back watching it like, okay, because you were being dragged through the coals like a week before, and
Right.
then
So I feel like, I'm a patient person. I'm a patient man. I know the experience that I had with her. And I felt like it was only a matter of time before, other people had similar experiences. So for me, just like with Morgan, it's really about just letting things play out, right? Letting the situations play out and just seeing what sticks and where it is. I do still feel, bad for it. I mean, I think Simone really said a mouthful. I'm definitely not mad at Simone for what she said. I mean, I think, she met fire with fire. But at the end of the day, I think people's true colors shine at some point. So for me, it's just a matter of just sitting back and, letting it happen. And if I need to use my voice, then I will. But most of the time, I just don't feel the need to because I don't engage in any type of negativity. I try and make that, a point in my life for my peace and my happiness.
Wow. So we're all looking forward to seeing. Oh, before I get to that, let me say this. Sue took a lot. As far as for you, being called the advocate Sue and all these things like that, and from social media to friends. I'm sorry, to friends to fans. I meant to say. How did you feel sitting back? Because I know she didn't ask for it, and of course you didn't ask for that to happen, but I'm sure it affected you.
So, shout out to Sue-Ann. No, it was nice to have somebody riding for you. Sue-Ann wasn't the only one though. That's a part of the character that they presented. Advocate Sue. I did have other connections, and I did have other people that rock with me. But again, I think that's just how they presented it, and I think that put a lot of pressure on her for the way that they tried to make her look. She was definitely vocal about the way that she felt, which I would expect, right? It's the same thing that I would do if someone was saying something that I didn't agree with that had to do with my connection. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. To be honest with you, I don't understand how it gets a negative connotation, right? So how does that negative connotation come when you say that someone's an advocate for someone else? Like, why does that become a negative thing?
Well, for her, I feel like because you and Jeffrey were battling, you called her a liar. And so, and the conversation allegedly happened with the women, united, or I'm sorry, with Tommy. And so when you was going back and forth and everything, and she jumped in advocating, she just took it as, I don't know, maybe she was like, why are you in this conversation? It had nothing to do with you, which it didn't have anything to do with her. So, I mean, it could have been taken as that reason. I don't know where it started from there. It just, because if you look on Lipstick Alley, there's literally threads about people are dragging literally her, trying to defend you for her. Maybe they thought she was a woman defending, she should be on her side. I don't really know.
Yeah, so again, I don't follow the social media, so I wouldn't know. The way I look at it.
Have to.
Yeah, the way I look at it, I mean, I chose who I chose. I pursued who I pursued, and I put my energy into who I wanted to put my energy into, right? And from there, we continued, and she's a great person. She was a great partner through the show. She's a great partner now. So I don't understand. I personally just don't understand what the hype is. But again, I think everybody would want somebody that would ride for them. I think everybody would want somebody that has their back. So I don't appreciate the negative connotation that goes along with it. I would just say, brush it off. Just let it go. Like, don't let it bother you, because at the end of the day, you got what you wanted. You are where you are, and everything is working out.
So we got the Ready to Love Dallas coming up here soon, the next season. If you know anybody, as far as they're telling you, hey man, I think I might be on Ready to Love this season or whatever. And what would you say? Would you say, bro, no, don't do it? Or would you say, go for it?
It really depends. I think that you have to really have thick skin, to be on the show. So it depends on the person. But I would let them know, as long as you have thick skin and you understand the entertainment value that's going to be played on it, as far as the editing and everything else goes, then definitely, go for it. It was a good experience. It was a good group of people in my cast, right? It was a lot of fun to do. It was always entertaining. So, something that you really got to consider, we're all going on dates. Our dates are anywhere from like an hour and a half to 2 hours long. And then you have like 6 of us going on a day. And then of that, the network is probably going to take 16 minutes of one of those dates, right? Wow. So you never really know what you're going to get.
Right.
And again, we don't find out until we watch, so for me, some of the stuff is funny, for the other people, they take it to heart. But I think, you just have to have the personality for it. So I wouldn't say yes or no. It would really be up to the person to decide.
Okay. Um, this season, a lot of fans debated like what happened to Ready to Love, what happened to the original thought of it, whatever. You look at people like Simone and Rashid, and they want to see more of that. In
Mhm.
this season, a lot of debates between the bloggers as well. That this season we don't see as much love. By this time, in a lot of the past season, we got maybe three or four maybes, and one for sure we might think,
Right.
this season a little bit different. What do you think about that?
Um, so for me, having not watched the show previously, becoming a fan of the show later on, um, I think a lot of it is the just the format of the show and the way things work. It's not really conducive to starting out with a really strong, connection, right? Because you got 10 and 10. And if you find your person and you match too soon, you kind of get voted off, right? So you're
Mhm.
kind of forced to date and you're forced to kind of move around. And, um, with that comes, certain challenges. But then also you have to make sure that the people that are on the show are somewhat equally yoked in their lives to be able to have that connection, right? Because you got to remember, we have age gaps through a lot of the cast members, right? Some people I think were like late 20s, just starting 30s, and then you had some people that were in their 40s. That's a pretty significant age gap to have to bridge when you talk about dating, you talk about speed dating, you talk about getting to know someone in a condensed amount of time.
Yes. Um, do you think that you can find love unready to love after this experience?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, look, it's just two people. You just have to have the right person, and if they luck up and they match well as far as who they put on the show, then yeah, I definitely think that you'll be able to, find your person. And it's really cool, to be honest, to have someone else attempt to do that for you, right? Because I got to entertain and go on dates with people that I probably would have never chosen for myself in the beginning. But at least I get to be open minded and I get to see the value that, they bring to the table, where I probably wouldn't have that opportunity previously. So, that would be the Joniques, even though we're not, compatible, I still appreciate the energy and the time and the things that she had to say. Same thing even with the Jeffrey, right? Even though we have our beef, I don't have any ill will towards Jeffrey.
Okay.
Um, not my cup of tea, but no ill will. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I think there's still something to be learned, something to be gained.
So why when do you remember? Well, I'm not sure. You said you didn't watch it. There was a season where Camille, the guy that she Cornelia, they just ended up leaving the show together. Like when one left, they just left. Why did you just leave? And because I thought you were gonna do that when Sue-Ann
So
got eliminated. Why didn't you just go?
why did I?
Why did
Um,
you get self elimination?
I did.
Well, you didn't do it the way it was done previously, where you were just like, I'm just gonna self eliminate. You was like, I have to have a conversation with Tommy,
Oh
and then
no, 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 no. That's how they edited it. So I left probably 30 minutes after she left. Yeah,
uh,
that's only how they edited it, right? So we still had to do filming and stuff, and they still create a storyline. But no, that's not how it went. When she left, we had dinner that very same night,
gotcha.
and we kept it pushing. Went to Atlanta, did some trips, had a great time. So yeah, I think that there's a little bit of a misconception there. And I think
It
some of
is.
this, to be honest, right? So when you see things like this, I think some of this is what adds to the fuel for her being an advocate and perhaps trying to make it look like, she's out on a limb by herself, or, there was some confusion on my part. So, let me clear that up and say, there was never any confusion on my part. And Sue-Ann actually is, a great person, and she is a great advocate, and she is the type of person that you would want in your corner.
Okay, I would say this. I feel like that, and I'm not saying for myself, just a general read. I've been reading some comments that they may have looked at it like, okay, Jeffrey was the one, and then Sue comes in and said, no, don't talk about him because she wanted you to be the one, and then y'all are together. I'm saying it because I have to look at things on all sides of why. Because even as you asked the question, I'm like, why did they come so hard at Sue? And so I do think that was a part of it as well. I don't
So
know.
yeah, and I think I think to me that would be, you know, just a person thing, right? I think that if you have someone, it doesn't even have to be somebody you're involved with. You have
Okay.
somebody that you care about, and you know somebody is lying on that person, right? I don't think you just sit back and say okay and let it happen. Um, I didn't see it or hear about it in a way where, you know, it was like an offense that was being taken. But on top of Suan, you know, there were other women in the lounge who also knew that what Jeffrey was saying wasn't true,
Mm.
right? So it's just they tried to single Suan out as the only voice, but that's not the reality of it. There were several women in there who, you know, were calling BS on it,
Uh,
and one specifically who knew better. You know, she didn't have to call BS; she knew better. You know, because she was there during the interaction.
well, okay. Well, then I'm gonna say this then, just to be honest. If Suan is being hung out to dry like that, and I'm just gonna keep it real, why didn't anybody else speak up? That calls the question.
No, 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 no. Don't
Okay.
confuse
Okay.
them
Okay.
not show don't confuse them not showing it with no one else speaking up. Right. So you got to remember you're getting a show. You're getting the
Okay.
entertainment value.
Got you.
Right.
Got
So they're just not showing the other people. I'll give you an example. I actually had two really strong connections. Right. So if you think back to my boat scene, when they showed me walking up to the boat, I had two bags, two gifts in my hand. One was for Suan and one was for my other connection. They never showed that connection. They never showed that interaction. They didn't show any of that storyline, right? So they kind of pick and choose, you know, what they feel is important and relevant to the story of Suan and I, right? So not mad at it, but still saying, view it. You know, what you see is actually what happened, but there's more to it than just, you know, what you see.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay. I was getting ready to send that look because little mama was getting drugged up and through the streets. She was. And I'm like,
Yeah,
if no one's not gonna step up and say, look, we also say that Jeffrey was telling the. I'm like, come on. But I get what you're saying about the whole thing, and I'm guessing and I'm sure the reunion is gonna be a lot of things probably revealed, which that's what normally happens on reunion. Because if that is the case, I will
it's
hope that somebody is going to
it
speak
is.
up because that is
No, it is.
it's
No,
cold
it
blooded.
definitely is. You
You
know,
know what I'm saying? What I'm just saying,
a
it's
lot
cold.
comes out. I will say a lot comes out on the reunion, definitely. But the other thing to keep in mind is, you know, Suan's a professional, right? She's not going to put herself out there like a Morgan. She's not going to put herself out there like a Jeffrey, right? And even to go to the um, extreme that Simone went to, you know, Suan wouldn't carry it like that. She just moves a little differently. So, you know, I can understand why her lack of aggression towards the situation could be taken as, you know, a failure to address it. But I just don't think that's the case at all. I think that, you know, she had a similar concept of just kind of letting it play out. So I still don't understand why she would still get beef and get static from fans after they've, you know, read Jeffrey, you know, fulfilled, really, right? Like already proven, you know, the challenges that go along with the stories that Jeffrey tells. So, you know, hopefully, you know, when she gets an opportunity to use her voice and get her platform, she'll be able to articulate a little bit better, get everyone to understand. But from my point of the situation, I just want to explain that it wasn't just Suan. She wasn't the only connection. She wasn't the only one who told me about what was going on in the in the women's lounge. And for her, it wasn't even about telling me what was going on in the women's lounge. She was the one that was sent on my elimination dates, right? So a part of that elimination date, you have to let the man know what was discussed in the lounge and to let him know why he's on the chopping block. So I think a lot of those conversations, you know, came up there too. And I think they may be getting mixed up in some of this stuff that's floating around the internet.
I'm gonna say that when it comes to the Simone and Jeffrey thing, I don't know Jeffrey, but I'm close to Simone, and Simone is Oak Cliff all day, and like my little mama don't play. That's all. That's all
Right,
I'm
right, right,
saying.
right, right.
I am gonna get a comment from the chat that said, "What was your issue with
Mhm.
Jeffrey?"
So what happened with Jeffrey, when we did the brunch, when they brought Cynthia out, they brought out Cynthia, Mark Anthony, shout out to Mark Anthony, and that group. Um, I was actually sitting with Jeffrey when Cynthia came and asked if she could talk to me, right? So what production does is they have you kind of move around. And when Cynthia came to get me, I walked off with Cynthia. And when I walked off with Cynthia, um, Jeffrey followed. So while I was sitting down on camera with Cynthia, Jeffrey sat behind me. And as Cynthia was speaking to me, Jeffrey scratched me down my back.
Mm.
So I turned to Jeffrey and I asked her if she wanted to join the conversation. She said no. And I think Cynthia, she said she was going to move around. I think Cynthia said something like, I'd appreciate it, or, whatever it was. And she moved around. So after that situation, it made me feel really uncomfortable. So I asked her thereafter, pulled us aside and said, look, this is a process. I think you're cool. She had her feelings about it. And then the next day, I hear in the women's lounge that I chose her and I didn't want to be with anyone else and all of this other stuff. So that's why I chose to never address it. And I chose to just kind of let it be. Why she would come up with it and why she would take that route, I don't know. I never asked her why. I just kind of let it be. I keep away from the negative as much as possible.
So her saying, a woman saying that he chose me, and I'm just playing devil advocate. There was nothing that transpired or said that make her feel
Not at all.
nothing.
Not at all.
That's such a big grand. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just I'm trying to understand why. That's a big thing to say. This is maybe interested in me or something like that. You can get away with that even if it's not true, but to say that I chose me, that's a really big thing.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just that, from what I understand. I think it was like I chose her and she had to report dates to me, I think she said. And it was like we were in a relationship. And it just wasn't true. I had only known the girl for a day, right? I just met her the day before. So I don't know how we got to, this point where, this is what she decided to put out there, what she felt. But no, there was nothing that I said to her, a conversation that was had to tell her that, I didn't want to do this, be there, or any of these other things. I just took it as entertainment value, quite honestly.
So one of the questions that I knew was going to come in, and exactly Erica, another content creator in the chat, she said, who are the other connections?
So Cynthia and I had a connection. In the beginning, her connection was as strong as the connection that I had with Suane. So those were my two main connections. And, still got along great with Marcia, still got along great with Mercedes. Shout out to Mercedes and Marcia. Those are my peoples. Two great women. I give them flowers every time I get the opportunity. So I want to give them their flowers now too. Two great women. But yeah, I think a lot is just misunderstood from the things that you don't see, right? Everybody plays on what they do see on the show, and there's a lot that they don't see. And I think without that piece that you don't see, you kind of get an idea of the picture that may be a little bit skewed.
Wow, that's interesting. Would you do another reality show again?
Probably not. Probably
not.
No, it's just it's not really my cup of tea, quite honestly. I don't have an issue with it. It was fun. It was a box that was checked, but I don't particularly like that feeling of the creative control being given to, someone, and I have no say so of what I'm going to look like on the other end.
Interesting.
So, yeah, probably not.
What is a positive thing you can take from this whole experience?
So there's a lot of positives. Great people. It was interesting to be able to date alongside other men, right? Because as men, we don't get to date the same women and get to come back and talk about the dates and see certain things, right? So specifically when we talk about like a Morgan and a Tony, right? You always say you wish you could be a fly on the wall when these situations happen. And, in this instance, you really do get to be a fly on the wall. So I learned a lot about the interactions. I learned a lot about some perspectives that people have that, I just never really considered and didn't know existed. So for me, it was definitely a learning experience in some areas. It was a lot of fun for the filming. And, all in all, even with the hate and the stuff that comes up that I don't know anything about, it's still been an enjoyable experience. So, yeah, I think it's still all up.
And so can we say that you found love?
I'll say that we can catch the reunion and everything is going to come out in the reunion.
I know. I know. I'm just messing with you. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm teasing you.
I know.
Oh my goodness. I really enjoyed having you on. I love doing this because Even as a blogger, I struggle because I give commentary, but because I've been doing it such a long time, I've gotten close to a lot of the cast, and so when I do these things, I struggle. I feel like I'm on the fence because I know I'm gonna get my feeling, but I'm like, but I just talked to them yesterday. I'm like, and I have to, but I still do my job. But I,
Right,
I just love, I love Rich Love, and the cast always love me, so I'm always love back. I'm gonna give you out the business now. Now look, like I gave you the business when I did my reviews, but at the same time, I always wanted to hear your side because I always feel like there was two sides to every
right.
story. So I appreciate you coming on and tell me your side. So is there anything up next coming up for Black that we should be looking for?
So, through this experience, it opened up a lot of conversations that I feel like I wanted to have. I got a podcast that is getting ready to drop. Actually, will drop this week called Gentleman's Code. It will be
Wow.
split up. And other than that, you can follow me on IG for the information as that unfolds. My IG is champ, CHAMP _ Fenimore, FENIMORE. I'll have updates as that comes up. And, really, if you have any questions and they're good questions, well, if you have any questions, I don't want to say good questions, right? Because there are no bad
Right.
questions. You have
Hmm.
some questions or something that you want, addressed, feel free to just shoot me a text I'm sorry, shoot me a DM,
I got you,
reach
baby.
out to
I
me on
got you.
DM, and we can work it out.
As anybody that comes on my platform, I always make sure that when the live drops, that I have the description in the description, any your Instagram, obviously, and then with your podcast, I'll have that there as well. So as they click on my interview, your information is literally right there, lit up in the description, so they can click on and follow you every time they play my interview. Hopefully, somebody checks out your podcast. So, thank you again for coming on. I appreciate you taking
Got
your time to give me the business as I gave it to you. Y'all just Community Reviews. This was a great interview. I really enjoyed it. Look, guys, I want everybody to take some time now. Mada from Mama just went live. She's doing an interview with Jonique. I need everybody to go over to Mild Afro Mama and go check out her interview. She's doing it right now live. I just saw the alert. She's my mentee with Jonique. Again, guys, I'm gonna have y'all follow Blake on all the platforms. And as a Southern girl that I am, I'm gonna close the door. We out of here.